Workshop night. We had workshop night this week, and somebody said that they'd got no chuck. They'd only got faceplate similar to this. I've never thought about turning a bowl without a chuck, so I had a little practice while I was there. So I've got a couple. I've got one here that fits onto my thread, which is quite useful. I've also got one on my lathe, which if I show you that there. So I've actually got my chuck on here just for convenience. I'm going to sacrifice this. So I've screwed on my faceplate. Imagine it's there. Screwed on my faceplate to this piece of wood. I've realised I want a piece of sacrificial. Now this is because this is really bad here, but it doesn't go all the way through. I'm going to sacrifice that. So just make a very shallow hollow bowl. This is a piece of oak and it's got some faults in it, but I'm not too worried about that. This is primarily just to see what I do and how I do it, because as I say, I've never done it before. So if we look here, the screws come into about there. I'm going to sacrifice this piece of wood. That's why I chose this piece, because I couldn't see any other benefit for it. So at this point, I'm going to round it off with a roughing gouge. So I've got myself set up. It's all on tight and secure. I'm set up where I want to be. My lathe's on quite slow at the moment. I've cut the main corners off it just to save a bit of time. So I'm going up, I'm finding the cut. Perhaps want to go a little bit faster than that. And for the purpose of this, because there is a loose piece on there, I'm putting my face mask on, just in case. That's the message at the moment. In fact, while I'm at it, I'm going to bring up my tailstock as well, just so that safety's sake. I probably should have done that earlier. Right, here we go. I'm running at 500 at the moment. So I'm not far off there. What I'll do is I'll come back when I'm around and we'll continue from there. So I've turned that to round and I've gone down. I've measured where my screws come in. I measured the length of the screw, and as long as I stop within that black line, I'm quite safe when I come to part this off. So I've got a basic shape there. Going to create the shape, and what I thought was I'll make this very small decorative foot here, so that when I turn it off, it'll have a little bit of a lift to it. Hoping that's going to work for me. And the next stage will be to flatten this off. So I'm going to find my center point, which is there, look. And then I'm going to refine this shape so that I know when I turn the inner out, the wall thickness will match the outer. That's my plan anyway. So we'll get started the lathe up and we'll see how we progress from there. My next task then is to hollow out. I've got the profile that I want really here. I've not finished the outside yet, which I will have to do before I part it off. So I'm going to hollow out the middle. Two or three ways to do this. Probably the first way to describe is if you have a Jacob's chuck. Here's the one I have. It was a few quid, I think less than a fiver off the internet. Uses force and a bit, which is quite simple to use. Right, here we go. I like to collect the bits as well, in case they're too hot. I don't go too deep with it because the guiding point on the Fortuna bit, I've only got a limited amount of space to go in the bottom, and so I don't want to have that little dint right in the bottom. So I'm going to pull this out now, and I'm going to check what distance I've got. with a near enough tool, which I'm sure most of you've got. If you haven't, use a bit of stick. So to where I'm going to put my foot, I've got, let's do it in millimeters because that's easier. I've got about 4.5 millimeters that I can afford to go into. So I've got a long way to go yet. So bear in mind, I don't want to go to that far. I don't want to go to the point. So if I go to about 4 mil, so if I mark that off, so go up there. You'll notice I've done that lots of times. It rubs off, so you don't get confused. Easy to get confused, isn't it? We can check it though at this point, see where far we've got. So I'm about halfway there. All good. Back in, switching on, locking off. So yeah, that's about just on 4. Sorry, you can't see that, but yeah, it is. Right, that's nice and cool, so that can go straight in my floor. Nearly said bin, but okay, here we go. Let's do some hollowing. Pause that there for a second, and then we'll come back when I've got a bit deeper. So I'm getting to a reasonable wall thickness. There's a little crack there, but again, this is just a trial to see if it works with a rough old piece of wood. So I'm coming to my final cuts. I'm running about 800. Got the benefit of my little light somewhere. Put that on. Just going to wind it off and just feel how it's going. Oh, that feels quite nice actually. That's better. That's not a bad thickness. So just do a bit of finishing on there. So I'll run my sander through that. Bit of power sanding. I decided I'd do it the easy way. That's not too bad actually. While I'm at it, I may as well sand the outside as well while I've got the chance. Just highlight any imperfections as well. There's a couple of cracks, a crack there. I'm going to go quickly through the grits both inside and out. So I'll come back when I finish that. I've gone through all the grits and just put a light coat of wax on there just to seal it off, just for the purpose of whether this works or not, just to see what it might look like. I'm not over bothered. It was a throwaway piece of wood, and I'm not going to waste a huge amount of time in finishing it. It might just end up in my workshop as a drop the screws thing into. but I'll try and give it a bit of a finish. So there we are inside. That's actually turned out quite all right. I'll now prepare it to part it off, and then how we finish the bottom. The old saying, parting is such sweet sorrow. I hope it's not in this case. Got a parting tool, I'm going to go in quite gently, going to go at an angle so I've got a concave bottom so it sits nicely and misses the screws. If you remember, I had a line here and I thought if I kept within that, I'm going to miss the screws. So here's hoping. And I've got the benefit of my little light. If I put it behind, I can actually see how far I've got through. You can just see now I've started to wobble, so I could probably clock that off, but I don't want to dint on it, so I'm just going to hold it gently. And oh, it's flown off. Fantastic. And hang on, let's go back up. That's a bit shabby, but a bit of sand in. That's a punky old bit of wood, and I think I actually went where the saw cut was, so that's not too bad actually. Right. So we can now take the take the screw chuck off. Oh, turn it the right way, wouldn't I? So there, that just shows you that was a screw chuck. So that worked. And now we've got to think about getting rid of the bottom. Several ways of doing that. This is one I use. Oh, but not with that chuck. Again, if you haven't got a chuck, I mean, there's lots of ways you could turn the take the bottom off here. You could do it power sand it. So making sure you keep it moving around. That's an option. Or you could make again, you could turn it on a faceplate, turn yourself a sanding disc. You know, I'm going to put some air on, take the dust away. And sand it off. Quite effective. Fair, depending on how big the sacrificial piece of blank that you use, you could have quite a smaller foot. I used a big foot on here because I thought, see what happens. But if you sacrifice a little bit more, you could turn quite a small foot on it. So there's nothing to stop you turning anything you want to, really. So you notice I'm just turning that, rotating as I go along. So what I'll do, I'll pause that, I'll go through the grits, and then I'll come back at the end and see what we've got. Here we are then, have the finished article. It's turned out quite nicely. I've just put a little bit of wax on it, and it's turned out reasonably well. For saying it was a rough old piece of wood with a great big crack in the bottom that I used as a sacrifice. And the bottom's parted off all right. There's a few. Oh, I thought they were marks, but actually not. That's the silvering that's within the silvering that's within the timber. Oh, there it is. It mirrors in there. Look. So all in all, quite pleased, and the faceplate that I used is that one that fits onto a chuck, and the other one that fits directly onto the spindle threads on the drive is that one. So again, that's a record one. The other one I think I got with a set. So there, hope that's useful, and let me know if you want to know anything else. Not saying it's the right way to do it, the definitive way to do it, or anything. It's just how I did it. So no complaints, and you do it how you want to do it. Thank you.